All right, ready to dive in. Today, we're looking at the world of cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin and Ethereum. You hear these names everywhere, but what are they really about? We've got a great piece here to help us break it down, so let's unpack it and see if we can make sense of all this digital gold rush stuff.
It really is fascinating. These technologies have grabbed everyone's attention, but a lot of people are still trying to understand it all.
Yeah, for sure. So, let's just start with Bitcoin. Imagine money, but it only exists online, totally separate from any bank or government. So that's Bitcoin digital cash. You can buy things with it, send it to people, even store value like you would with, say, gold.
And the story behind Bitcoin, it's as interesting as the technology itself.
Yeah.
Created back in 2009,
Yeah.
by someone or maybe a group of people, using the name Satoshi Nakamoto. And to this day, no one knows who they really are.
The total mystery, right. Okay, but how does it actually work? Bitcoin uses this tech called blockchain. You've probably heard of it. But instead of thinking of it as just like a digital ledger, imagine a shared record book. Everyone on the network can see it. Every Bitcoin transaction is recorded there. And that's a big part of what makes it so secure.
Exactly, yeah. It's spread across so many computers. Tampering with it is almost impossible. Think about it trying to hack thousands of computers at once, just to change one little thing.
Yeah.
Not going to happen. That's why it's considered more secure than, traditional banking.
Wow, that's incredible when you think about it like that. And then there's the fact that there's a limit on Bitcoin. There will only ever be 21 million, and this limited supply. It's why people think Bitcoin could become a big way to store value, just like gold. But it's digital,
Right, it plays into that same idea of scarcity and value, like we've seen with gold for centuries, right? It's really amazing how those age-old economics, they're now applying in the digital world.
It really makes you think, yeah. But we can't ignore the elephant in the room, right? Bitcoin's price, it's volatile, to say the least. Huge swings. It can be risky, but also very rewarding.
Yeah, that volatility. It's a big thing for investors to consider. It's not for everyone, that's for sure. But it's part of what makes this whole space so dynamic and interesting to watch.
Oh, sure, for sure. Okay, so let's move on to Ethereum. It's also a digital currency, but think of it more as a platform, like a foundation for building new things. Things like decentralized applications, or dApps for short. These are programs, essentially. They run on the blockchain without any central control.
The revolutionary thing about Ethereum, it's that it lets developers build applications that are transparent, secure, and censorship-resistant. It's the beauty of blockchain. Cut out the middleman, and it creates a more level playing field.
Yeah, and one of the coolest things on Ethereum, smart contracts. So imagine you're a freelancer, right? And you just finished a big project. A smart contract can automatically pay you as soon as the client proves the work. No more chasing payments or anything like that.
Exactly, that's a perfect example. Smart contracts just streamline everything, no more middleman, automating trust, creating efficiency.
Yeah.
Like we couldn't even imagine before.
Seriously, it makes you wonder how many industries could change because of this. Now, Ethereum has its own currency called Ether, or ETH. It's used for transactions and for running those dApps. And yeah, the price, it can be just as wild as Bitcoin.
It does raise a good question, though. Bitcoin and Ethereum are both built on blockchain. They both have these crazy price swings. So what really sets them apart?
Right, good point. I guess that's where we look at their purposes. They're both cryptocurrencies, sure, but they have different goals. Bitcoin, it was designed mainly as digital money, for those peer-to-peer transactions. But Ethereum, on the other hand, it's all about being that platform for building dApps and for using those smart contracts.
And that difference shows up in their tech, too, right? Bitcoin's blockchain. It's all about security, stability. For financial transactions, like imagine a fortress protecting your money. But Ethereum, its blockchain is more flexible. It's meant to support all sorts of different applications. Less like a fortress, more like a city, constantly growing, changing, connecting.
I love that analogy. Really helps to picture their different strengths. And remember how Bitcoin has that limit? Only 21 million coins? Well, Ethereum doesn't have that.
You're right, and that's what makes Ethereum so interesting to me. Some people say this unlimited supply is good, for growth and adapting in the future. But others worry it could lead to inflation and lower its value.
That's interesting. So with no limit, is Ethereum going to become inflationary? What are the arguments for and against that?
That's a great question. It's something that's being debated a lot, by economists and experts. On the one hand, some argue that as Ethereum grows, and more Ether is created, the supply might just grow faster than the demand, and that could make its value go down. Basic supply and demand like we see in regular economics, you know?
Right, that makes sense. So what's the other side of the argument? Why aren't some people worried about inflation?
Well, they point out that Ethereum's issuance rate, it's actually designed to decrease over time.
Yeah.
And they believe the demand for Ether will keep rising as more developers use the platform and as dApps and smart contracts become more popular.
It sounds like valid points on both sides. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Definitely. It's what makes it all so unpredictable and exciting. But let's shift gears a little. We've talked about blockchain security, but what about Bitcoin and Ethereum themselves? Are there any risks?
Yeah, good point. Blockchain tech is generally very secure. But that doesn't mean there's no risk at all. Like we already talked about the price swings, big gains, but also big losses.
Exactly. You always have to remember, investing cryptocurrency has risks. Never invest more than you can afford to lose. But there are other risks too, right?
Oh, definitely. The blockchain is strong. But exchanges and wallets where people store their crypto, they can be vulnerable to hackers.
It's like you have a high-tech safe, but you leave the key under the mat, you know? Choosing good exchanges, strong passwords, two-factor authentication, it's crucial. Protect your digital valuables like you would your physical ones.
Couldn't agree more. And then there's regulation, which is always changing. Governments are still figuring out how to handle crypto, and those decisions, they can have a huge impact.
Yeah, it's a bit of a wild west out there right now.
Yeah.
But as regulations solidify, we'll see a shift in how Bitcoin and Ethereum are used.
Okay, we've covered a lot, from how blockchain works to the potential and risks of crypto. But before we talk about the future of Bitcoin and Ethereum, can we go back to blockchain for a minute? I think it's easy to get lost in the tech talk. Let's break it down so anyone can understand.
I like that. Demystify blockchain. At its heart, it's a pretty simple concept. Imagine a digital record book constantly updated by a network of computers. That's the blockchain.
And what's cool is that no one person controls it. It's spread out, making it secure and transparent, like a public record anyone can see, but no one can mess with.
Yeah, and each entry in that book, we call it a block. It holds a bunch of transactions.
Yeah.
Once a block is added to the chain, it's linked to the one before it, using cryptography, and it can't be changed. Tamper-proof.
So using Bitcoin as an example, let's say I want to send you some Bitcoin. What actually happens to make that work?
Well, your transaction gets broadcast to the whole Bitcoin network. And then miners come in. These are special computers. They're constantly competing to solve complex math problems. The first one to solve it adds your transaction to a new block.
And these miners, they get rewarded with Bitcoin, right? Like a digital gold rush, everyone wants a piece.
That's it. It's a clever system. It keeps the Bitcoin network secure and running smoothly.
So once my transaction is in the blockchain, it's permanent, unchangeable. And because it's copied on so many computers, no one can mess with it.
Exactly. That's the groundbreaking part. You don't need a third party, like a bank.
It's really amazing when you think about what this tech could do. It's not just about digital currencies. It's about changing how we exchange value, data, everything.
Okay, let's get back to Ethereum and those smart contracts. Remember the freelancer example? That's just the start of what they can do.
Yeah, they're incredible. Like agreements written in code, stored on the blockchain, they can automate so many things. No more middlemen, less chance of fraud.
Think about real estate, for example. A smart contract could handle the whole buying and selling process. From proving ownership to transferring money, everything faster, more transparent, less room for error.
Or supply chains. Smart contracts could track goods from factory to consumer.
The possibilities are endless. As developers work on them, we'll see even more uses in the future, a whole new world opening up.
It's exciting, but we need to be realistic too, right? There are challenges and risks.
Of course. One big one right now is scalability. As more people use crypto, the networks need to handle all those transactions quickly and efficiently.
And we've seen what happens when things get congested. Fees go way up, especially when demand is high.
Yeah, that's a valid concern. But developers are working on it. There's new tech being developed called Layer 2 solutions. They aim to process transactions off the main blockchain.
What are Layer 2 solutions exactly?
Basically, they're like side roads. Taking some of the traffic off the main highway, which is the blockchain, transactions happen faster, cheaper, but the main blockchain stays secure.
That makes sense. Seems like a good solution. But what about the regulations? That still seems like a big question mark.
Absolutely. Governments are still trying to figure out how to deal with crypto. This uncertainty makes it hard for investors and businesses, like building a house on shifting sand.
Right, and then there's security. The blockchain itself is very secure, but exchanges and wallets have been hacked.
That's why users have to be careful. Choose reputable exchanges. Use strong passwords, two-factor authentication, And store your crypto in a safe wallet. Protect your digital stuff just like your physical stuff.
So we've covered a lot, from how blockchain works to the pros and cons of crypto, but there's one more thing I want to mention: the social and ethical side of this tech.
Important point. Every disruptive technology has good and bad sides.
On the one hand, crypto could empower people, especially those who don't have access to traditional banking, financial freedom, and privacy.
But there are concerns too, like money laundering, tax evasion, illegal activities.
And the environmental impact of mining. It takes a lot of energy, a complicated issue with no easy answers.
Definitely complicated. We need to have open conversations about these impacts.
So after all this, what do you think? Should people be running out to buy Bitcoin or Ethereum?
It's a personal choice. Everyone needs to think about their own situation and risk tolerance. Crypto is still new and volatile. High risk, high reward, but not right for everyone.
What's the most important thing for listeners to remember? What do you hope they learned today?
I hope they understand Bitcoin and Ethereum better, how they work, their potential, but also how complex this space is. It's not just about getting rich, it's about changing how we think about money, tech, and society.
Well said. And speaking of the future, that's a perfect transition. What does the future hold for Bitcoin and Ethereum?
Predicting the future is tough,
Yeah.
right? Especially with something like crypto, it changes so fast. But I think Bitcoin and Ethereum are here to stay. They'll probably have a big impact on, finance in the coming years.
It does feel like we're on the edge of something brand new, full of possibilities, but also a lot of unknowns. It's exciting and a bit scary all at the same time.
Yeah, I get that. That's what makes it so interesting to think about. Makes you challenge those assumptions about how the world works.
One thing that really gets me is the whole decentralized idea. Bitcoin and Ethereum could take power away from big institutions, give it back to individuals.
Yeah, that's a big idea when you really think about it. For so long, we've relied on these middlemen, right? Banks, governments, corporations. They control our money, our data, even our identities. Blockchain could change all that.
It's like the internet gave us a voice, connected us, and now blockchain could give us control over our finances and data.
That's a good way to put it. Empowering people, making things more transparent, it could really change society in a huge way.
But big changes always come with challenges, right? We talked about scalability, regulations, security. What other hurdles do you think Bitcoin and Ethereum will face?
I'd say user adoption is a big one. Right now, it's mainly tech people and investors who use crypto. For it to go mainstream, it needs to be easier for everyone. Imagine needing a computer science degree just to send an email. The internet wouldn't be nearly as popular, would it?
Makes sense. We need user-friendly wallets, easy-to-use exchanges, more education.
Exactly. And then there's interoperability, how well different systems work together. Right now, the crypto world is kind of fragmented. Different blockchains, different cryptocurrencies, they don't always play nice with each other. We need to connect them, create a smoother system.
Like how different countries have different currencies, but we can exchange them pretty easily.
Exactly. We need that in the crypto world. And of course, regulations are going to be key. Clear rules will help build trust and encourage innovation.
A lot to think about, for sure. But the potential is huge. It's hard not to get excited. Okay, let's look into the future for a minute. What are some exciting use cases for Bitcoin and Ethereum that you see coming up?
Well, for Bitcoin, I think its role as digital gold is getting more and more obvious. With all the economic uncertainty in the world, people want something safe to store their value in, something outside the control of governments and banks. Bitcoin fits perfectly, limited supply and decentralized.
Like a digital safe haven, right. And what about Ethereum? What about those smart contracts?
I think we're just starting to see what they can do. Supply chains, real estate, we talked about those. But imagine them for voting systems, making them more transparent and efficient. Or automating insurance claims, even changing how we manage healthcare records.
It's incredible to think about all the possibilities. It's like a whole new technological revolution. We can't know for sure where it'll take us, but it's definitely going to be an interesting ride.
Absolutely. So to our listener, what are your thoughts after all this? Do you think Bitcoin and Ethereum are revolutionary? Or are you still not convinced?
Whatever you think, keep learning and exploring. The world of crypto is constantly changing. There's always something new to discover. Maybe you'll be the one leading the charge someday, shaping the future in ways we can't even imagine right now.
The future is what we make it, right?
That's a perfect way to end this deep dive. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you learned something new about Bitcoin and Ethereum. Until next time, keep those curious minds engaged.